What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a film that was released a little while ago that I wanted to watch originally when I saw Paul Giamatti was in the film. I'm a huge fan of Paul Giamatti, think that he is a really talented actor, and I found out that this film was directed by Alexander Payne, who I have not seen every film in Alexander Payne's filmography, but I've seen the film Nebraska, which I was a huge fan of, and I've seen the film The Descendants, which I really enjoyed. I didn't think that it was perfect by any means, but I really liked it. I think that Alexander Payne does a really great job of telling really intimate character dramas that also have dark humor laced throughout. I feel like he really does a great job balancing that tonality, and it's always interesting when he releases a film. I feel like he always comes up with some really unique ideas, and so I was very excited to watch this movie, and the film I'm going to be discussing with you today is The Holdovers. The Holdovers is directed by Alexander Payne. A curmudgeonly instructor at a New England prep school is forced to remain on campus during Christmas break to babysit the handful of students with nowhere to go. Eventually, he forms an unlikely bond with one of them, a damaged, brainy troublemaker, and with a school's head cook who has just lost a son in Vietnam. So, as I said, familiar with Alexander Payne's work. He's kind of hot or cold for me. There's movies of his I've really enjoyed, movies of his I've found just to be okay. And this is one of my favorite movies of the year, if not my favorite movie of the year. It's going to be really difficult when I make an end of the year list. There's still a lot of movies I've yet to see, but I was absolutely blown away by this movie. I feel like from the structure, the cinematography, the performances, everything about this is just so well done. And it's incredibly impressive because the entire time I was watching the movie, from the title credits to the way that the soundtrack begins the film kind of immersing you into this world, it feels like something right out of the 70s. It just, not just because the film takes place in that era, but because of the way that it's shot and the way that it's presented. The film feels like it is from a different era. It feels like something we don't see very much anymore, which the aesthetic and the style is something that drew me in, but the performances and the story really kept me hooked the entire time. And I'm very excited to kind of break this down for you today. So the plot description really sums up the movie perfectly. This takes place at a private high school around Christmas. That's an all-boys school. We're introduced to Paul Giamatti's character, Paul, who is an instructor at this school, and all the kids and teachers hate him. He just hates humanity, and he sees no hope for humanity. He's very set in his ways. He follows his own set of rules, and the school's mad at him because recently there was a donor to the school who had given a whole lot of money, and he still failed the student because the student performed really poorly. And so the way his character's presented, he has this comedic edge because he's really mean-spirited, but in a way that's kind of relatable, where it's just like, I'm fed up with the world. And Paul Giamatti does a really great job of playing that type of character, and he just lives and breathes this role. And so at the beginning of the film, we find out that with the Christmas break coming up, one of the other instructors manages to kind of push off on him, forcing him to stay at the school through the Christmas break to take care of the kids who don't get a chance to go home to their families. And there are four kids that we are introduced to, but the main kid is Angus, played by Dominic Sessa, who was supposed to go on this vacation with his mother and his stepfather. And we see early on he's looking at these pictures of his dad. We assume that his dad is dead and that his mom's dating this new man. She's trying to get the relationship to work and calls him on the phone and says, honey, we never really got to go on a honeymoon together. Please just give us this one thing. So he's stuck on Christmas break after bragging to all of his friends that he was able to go on Christmas vacation. And then the other character we're introduced to is Mary, played by Divine Joy Randolph, who her son has recently died in the Vietnam War. I think he's barely 21 or 22, and she's really struggling with it, but she's the head cook at the school. She's staying behind because she doesn't really want to go home to her family after experiencing that loss. She's not really ready to cope with those things, and the entire film is us being stuck at this school with these characters during Christmas and kind of unpacking more about their characters and seeing how these people who are all experiencing things that are very different, have a lot in common with the things that they're struggling with. And that's what I loved so much about this film, is it is a beautiful portrayal of humanity and the struggles that people have and the issues that we suffer through, and that despite the fact that each person's individual experience may be different, there is some form of common ground that can bring us all together, that we can relate to and we can support each other. And even the most unlikely people can be there for someone in a moment that is unsuspecting and surprising. First thing I want to talk about in this movie is the performances. I was blown away by the performances from top to bottom in this film. The standout in this movie to me is Mary, played by Divine Joy Randolph, who was incredible. Honestly, everything about her performance was just amazing. Playing this mother who has recently lost her son, who works at this school because she wanted to give her son the opportunity to have a great education and to be able to go off to the college that he wanted to. And the fact that he went into the military and was killed at such a young age, and her son's father died this really tragic accident as well. She just feels like life is piling on top of her, and she doesn't want to have to go be with family to try to have to come to that realization that she's lost the people that are closest to her. And she is good at her job working at this school. She runs this kitchen, and she just does such an amazing job with her facial expressions and her bodily movements and her dialogue delivery, and is just really the standout in this movie for me. Paul Giamatti, as usual, is phenomenal. I think this character is just written for him. I just love how much of an asshole he is, but despite the fact there are moments where you can't stand his character, there are also moments in the movie that you really can relate to him as a person and you can understand where he's coming from. Dominic Sessa, who plays Angus in this movie, also is incredible. I think this is a really early role for him. I don't think that he has much other acting experience, and he is just incredible. And the relationship that he forms with Paul Giamatti's character is so unique, and how they support each other, and kind of get into these arguments. And it makes a lot of sense because at the beginning, he's his teacher and he's just failed almost the entire class on this exam, and the two of them kind of get into a back and forth. And so their rapport really early on, and there's this tension built, and the tension exists throughout the entire film, but there's always this push and pull between the two characters that is really all performance driven, and these actors just live and breathe these characters, and that's what really immersed me. The cinematography in this film is breathtaking. It's really incredible. Feels like Christmas. The way the cinematographer frames these shots, there's so many just incredible visual moments. In a film that's just all about character dynamics, there doesn't necessarily need to be this level of attention to detail to the cinematography, and it's just incredible. It's some of my favorite cinematography in a film all year long. I think the blocking in this movie is great, and most of the film takes place in this university with these characters, and they're able to just give it so much personality. And that's what's so impressive to me, is that the setting plays such a big role in the movie as well, and it's really expansive and kind of just makes these characters feel all the more lonely. And it's a beautiful exploration into just the human condition and dealing with depression and anxiety and loneliness. And I love the way Paul Giamatti's character is written, because he's this incredibly intelligent individual who just really is kind of stuck where he's at and has not gotten to possibly where he could be with his intellect because of how comfortable he's become in his role at this school, and kind of giving up his potential because he feels like this is all he's cut out for. And I just love all of the character arcs in this movie. It's really a great holiday film because I feel like it exposes the reality of the holidays, which not everything is peachy keen just because it's Christmas. And I feel like for a lot of people, that they try to hide the fact that around this time of year you just assume that things are always great and everything's fine, but that is not the case for everyone. Things are difficult all year round, and people struggle with things even harder around the holidays sometimes. So I liked that reality that the film faces about the holidays in general. And I was just floored by this movie, just by everything about it. The soundtrack is another part I really love. There's really great original music in this, but there's also some really great popular music music that's used, and I feel like the balance between the two is really well executed and just attributes to the ambiance and the feel of the film. And this is just one of my favorite films of the year. This is going to be a new holiday classic movie for me. I'm probably going to revisit this one every single year. Just absolutely incredible, and I would implore you to watch this movie as quickly as you can. It is amazing. So have you seen The Holdovers? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was incredible. I have no issues with it whatsoever. I think it's perfectly executed, and I already can't wait to watch it again. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.